Strange things are afoot at the Circle K.
That kid is back on the escalator again.
Ain't gonna hurt.
Is my boomstick!
Game over, man. It's game over.
Welcome to the Bargain Bin. He is your host, Ben Mason.
And he is your co-host, Sandra Luketic. And today we're talking 1982's Friday the 13th, Part 3 in 3D. Sandra, happy Friday the 13th.
Yes. For anyone who doesn't know, we don't do these live. So while the episode is being posted on Monday, we are actually recording on Friday the 13th, which, considering we had a couple of delays and this would have been recorded like 2 weeks ago, it almost seems fitting that it happened this way.
Yeah, no, it's a happy coincidence. And seen the movie a few times now. I'm pretty excited to get into it. But brief histories. You go first this time.
So there was a period of time not too long ago where you and I actually sat down and watched the entire Friday the 13th franchise. That was my first introduction to this movie. Like, I know prior to that I'd seen some of them, but I kind of only recalled the first one, Jason Goes to Hell. And there was definitely ones that I know I didn't see, and I think this is one of them. So that is my history. Like, I have watched it previously. I did enjoy it. That's why if you listen back to the last episode when you asked me which Friday the 13th, I answer almost before you finish getting the question out. So, and I'm not going to say it's because that's my favorite. It's just that was the one that stood out to me the most that I wanted to talk about that. The only one that was maybe close was Jason Takes Manhattan. But yeah, that's my history with this movie.
Yeah, this one was kind of the black sheep for me. I never really gave it that much attention. When I would, like, every couple of years I'd go through the entire franchise, and I found that these movies, more than any, kind of ran together. So I could remember character names, but if you said what name the character had, I couldn't really tell you what movie they were in.
Okay.
They're becoming a little bit more specific for me now. I watch them more. I actually enjoy them more. Halloween is my favorite movie of all time, but I think Friday the 13th might be my favorite horror franchise of all time.
Okay.
And I'm becoming more solid on that every time I go through it. And the more I watch it, the more I actually really enjoy Friday the 13th Part 3. I think it's definitely worth talking about. Is it the best one in the series? Yeah, it's up for debate. But I think there's a lot of fun stuff to talk about here, good and bad. Trust me, there's a lot of bad too.
I got a question for you.
Yeah, what's that?
Why call it Friday the 13th Part 3 in 3D? Why not just call it Friday the 13th 3D?
I believe it's because this is one of, like, the original 3D movies. They were the first to use a specific 3D camera that had never been used in filmmaking before. And I think they really wanted to drive home that it was 3D. Yes, it was Part 3. 3D wasn't a thing, so calling it Friday the 13th 3D, I think some people might have just thought it was the first movie again, only in 3 dimensions.
Okay, that actually makes sense.
Yeah, because this is what sparked off the big 3D horror craze, like Jaws 3D and stuff like that. Friday the 13th Part 3 was the first horror movie to do that. So it's got a special place in history. Maybe that's the only reason it should have a special place in history, but we'll get into that. So what are your thoughts on 3D movies? Are there any you actually like, or do you generally dislike them?
I generally don't like them.
Mm-hmm.
And I say it that specifically. I don't want to say I dislike them. I generally don't like them, simply because so much of the 3D elements are so ham-fisted in there. Like, even in this movie, it's like, I'm going to hold a broom towards the, like, you don't, like, come on, you know?
Yeah. Let's be honest. A lot of this 3D stuff is complete bullshit.
Yeah.
Post-conversion, a lot of the times, was just being lazy. And it doesn't look great ever. Although I do have to say, some of the 3D in the Jason Momoa Conan movie was pretty badass. I did enjoy that. I know it wasn't good, but you know me and Conan, one of my favorite characters. I'll take whatever I can get. Decent 3D though. Like I can't really think of any that it benefited from. Like, is it just all around a cheap gimmick to get seats or butts in seats, or do you think there's a movie that actually really benefited from being in 3D?
That's a good question. I haven't seen too many 3D movies simply because I've never been able to perceive 3D.
Mm-hmm.
That's something that's even come down to like video gaming when they've brought out consoles and devices that were 3D. My eyes just can't perceive it for whatever reason. So I am kind of missing out on some of the effect, but I can see when something is coming towards the camera what is supposed to be in 3D. So I can see where the context doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
I will give this movie a little bit of a pass because if it was one of the first ones, you're trying out something new, fine. But as a result, I don't have a lot of experience. I don't go to a lot of 3D movies because I know I'm not going to get the effects, so I just don't bother.
Yeah, then that's fine. I'm kind of with you on that one, except there is one movie that was released here for, I think, 1, maybe 2 screenings in 3D, and I'm pissed that I missed it because they did a conversion of Romero's Dawn of the Dead. And not only would I have had a chance to see it on the big screen for the first time, but it would have been in 3D, and the 3D got some really good reviews, so I'm definitely kicking myself, but I would love to catch Dawn of the Dead, even just in theaters one last time. Like, I need to see that movie as it was supposed to be seen.
No, okay.
All right, so just hop in.
Yeah, you betcha.
Well, I was very happy that we start off with that classic Paramount logo.
That's a throwback right there, but okay.
Oh, it's great. It just makes me so happy.
I meant you commenting on the logo. It's been a while.
We get a recap of the ending of the previous film, which doesn't happen that often. It is kind of a filmmaking technique, but these movies weren't really that far apart. I don't think we need to be reminded. Even people that saw it in theater didn't wait to see it on home video because most people couldn't even get it on home video. Would still know what happened when they go see 3. It was like a year apart.
See, this is where I expect your knowledge to come into place. Was this a rushed production or something? Because look at the runtime of this movie.
Oh yeah, it's not long.
If you take out the recap from the last one and the entire scene with the couple that's, I guess, running the gas station shop or living there or whatever.
Yeah.
The movie with the actual main cast doesn't start for 15 minutes of what is already a short runtime.
Yeah, I don't think it was a rush production, but it is a very short film, and there's a lot of filler. But I'm okay with the main story that we get here. I really am. The intro, though, is it's a pain to get through. Yeah, this scene in the Crystal Lake Cafe general store, whatever it is, it's a shitty setup for this movie. I don't give a damn about this couple who runs it. I did enjoy the bunny, though.
Man, okay. See, now I'm going to have to disagree with you right away.
What?
This scene is not, any of these scenes with this couple are not necessary for the movie, but this guy is so entertaining to me. Yes. Was I thinking the entire time this should have been Dick Miller? Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
But despite that, I really did enjoy this guy. In the grand scheme of it, if you're like, I want to watch Friday the 13th, you're watching this and you're like, this doesn't need to be in there, you are correct. But I will not tell it to get out because I enjoyed it.
And that's fine. But like Edna is the worst. And his name's Harold, I think, right?
I didn't know
we'll
they
go
had names.
Okay, I'll give you that. Harold is entertaining. He comes across as a bit of a sweetheart. But you give me more than 5 minutes of this guy, I'm turning the movie off. I'm just not doing it. I can't. I'd rather watch that rabbit for 10 minutes than 10 minutes of these two.
Yeah, fair enough.
We do get our first bit of 3D, though. The like broom handle. I find it weird to think. Here, go with me on this one.
Okay.
First 3D horror film in the 80s, at least. We'll go with this. How much do you think the minds of the audience were blown by seeing a broom handle come at them.
See, and that's why, like I was saying, I give it leeway. Because, again, I'm watching this way after the fact. Decades later. But if this is the first time you're seeing a 3D movie, and it is the first time you're putting on 3D glasses, and this is a completely new thing, even if it is just a broom handle, it sets a tone for the audience like, hey, this is what we can do. It doesn't necessarily mean we should, but again, it's the first time it gets a pass.
Yeah, it gets a pass. That's fair. What do you think about how everything that kind of pops out of the screen is obviously on a wire? Everything.
There are some. I mean, we're gonna get to it very, very soon, but I think the most egregious one is coming up, and it is the snake. Yes, it is so bad, and it's like even back then, I don't know if anybody could be like, I believe that is a real snake.
No,
not one person is
there's
like,
no way.
I can see the coat hangers coming out of this thing.
The odd thing though, which I find interesting, is apparently on they shot all this on location, right? There are rattlesnakes everywhere, like legit rattlesnakes. Like they paused production to shoo the snakes away. Wow. I don't think I could do this movie if there were rattlesnakes everywhere.
No, but it was a different time. No.
I have to admit though, they did fake me out because I thought Jason had killed all the rabbits, and that's why that one was in the produce because it ran from him.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. Because, I mean, Harold, I believe you said it was. Even when he walks into the room, he's like, who would do something like this? And you're like, okay, it's somebody who's inhumane, right? That is a Jason thing. And then we get the snake, and you're like, okay, well, that makes a lot more sense. But I don't think it was this snake. This snake is dead on a coat hanger.
It's definitely a dead snake on a coat hanger. Also, I don't know if the snake would go in and just bite every individual rabbit and just bloody them up and then wait.
No, it would just consume them. It would just unhinge its jaw and swallow them alive.
Yeah. Harold taking swigs of whiskey on the toilet threw me for a loop.
Not the sound effects that come from that scene before the camera cuts to it?
Yeah. That's a first for me, I think.
It's like, these are the sounds that you expect from, like, a gushing victim of Jason.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what they wanted you to think.
Oh. Something got murdered, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Thoughts on the deaths of Harold and Edna?
They were okay. I feel like the potential was there, as we had just discussed, to make it even more interesting.
Basic cleaver to the chest?
Yeah.
For Harold. But Edna, getting a knitting needle through the back of her head, kind of creative, but also lackluster at the same time, do you think?
I mean, it doesn't really feel very Jason-esque, does it?
No. But we've only had him in one movie so far, right?
Well, two, right?
No, he's not in the first one.
Oh, right, it's his mom. Yeah.
Well, he's in the end of the first one, but that doesn't count.
Yeah, my bad.
So we cut to most of our main cast for the rest of the movie. Now it'd be Chris, Debbie, Andy, Shelley, and Vera, who's Shelley's blind date for this trip to Higgins Haven, Chris's family's cabin.
Poor Vera.
Yeah, generic characters, really, but like stereotypes. What are your thoughts on these people, if you have any in particular?
I mean, I think you said it perfectly, as stereotypes. You know, there's the cool ones, the jocks, the stoners, the loser. Like, it's exactly what you said, stereotypical characters.
What are your thoughts on Shelley in particular?
Oh, I was afraid you were going to ask me that. This guy can just...
You knew I was going to ask you that.
Like, this guy can... I'm pretty sure we talked about this when we watched the movie together, when we did our marathon.
Mm-hmm.
This guy can just go F himself.
See, I disagree. Originally, hated him. He's the worst character. The more times I watch this movie, the more he grows on me. And I didn't really understand why, so I had to sit back and think about it. And for me, I think it's because he probably has the most developed character in the movie. It's either Shelley or Chris.
It doesn't make him any less annoying.
Yeah, he's annoying, but he's also like he's a pathetic character. And I kind of that makes me warm up to him.
Nope.
No.
Nope.
No, you actually hate this guy.
Yep. I'm. There will not be a surprise for one of my awards. I'll tell you that right now.
Okay, I saw that coming. I knew that was going to be one for sure.
Yeah.
The next thing that happens in the movie straight up made me say, this movie.
Okay.
And that is when they think the van's on fire. But it's just two more of our characters, Chili and Chuck, smoking weed in the back. So there we go. I think we've pretty much covered all the stereotypes, except for one, which we'll get to later.
How do you think the van is on fire? You know who you left in there.
They're all idiots. Let's not kid ourselves with that. They are all incredibly stupid characters.
Yes.
Like, go with the police scare that happens shortly after while they're on the road. So they think they're being pulled over, so they just eat all of the weed.
Yep.
But it's a false alarm. They pull over and the police just speed by.
I will give it to this scene with Shelley. Maybe one of the only ones that I actually enjoyed. This and maybe the grocery store later. Yeah. But when they are about to eat all the weed, he just says, like, I'm not hungry.
Yeah.
It's like, this is not about sustenance and hunger, dude.
And then they keep trying to force him to eat it. He's like, I'm allergic.
So I'll give him that one. There you go.
Yeah. So that's two things about this movie that I've hated in a row. But that's all washed away with this next bit. Because when the police get to the murder scene at the store, one of them says, I'll handle the crowd. And he walks up to 3 people.
Yep. Yeah. There's a big crowd forming, man.
That is a prime example of a guy who doesn't want to work.
No. Perfect. But hey, that crowd had to be told. Yeah.
I don't think it's a crowd, but I guess 2's a couple, 3 is a crowd.
Yeah, 3's a crowd. There you go.
Oh, shut up. So our crew roll up on an old man sleeping in the middle of the road, and I need to know what you think about this scene.
Hey.
I don't know. I don't know what the guy was thinking when they wrote this. It was a couple that wrote this, and you know what it is? Like, it starts off rather well, then goes off the rails. I think this is them realizing that they need a Crazy Ralph character in this movie.
The doomsayer, right?
Yeah.
Is that what it's called, the stereotype or the cliche or whatever? What's the word I'm looking for? No,
you nailed it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Presents him with an eyeball and then rants about an omen warning them. Now, he's no Crazy Ralph, but I do like this guy.
This 3D moment is probably, I don't want to say my favorite, but the one that stands out the most. Because after showing them the eye, which is an old guy walking around with an eyeball, he holds it towards the audience in what is obviously a 3D moment.
Yep.
But then it just lingers there for what feels like a really long time.
Oh, it's real gross. It's probably the most disgusting 3D moment in the movie. And then they just drive off, arrive at the camp, and no one seems to care about the craziness that just unfolded. Like, I'd still be a little rattled because the guy's out there.
That guy's not far from where you are, exactly. Like, he could easily walk over here.
Yeah. While everyone else plays around the water, Chris decides to take her bags inside. And another jump scare where we meet our final main cast character, Rick, who looks to be in about his late 30s.
No, he's a teenager.
He was 27 when he filmed this.
Oh, dude, and he even looks old for 27.
Oh, he looks horrible for 27. But another character who I despised the first few times I watched the movie, and the more I watch, does grow on me.
I don't like this character either, though.
I think we're gonna have very different awards.
He is very forceful towards his sexual desires.
Oh yeah.
And then when he is rejected, pretends like he's okay with it, and then makes a joke about her being fat.
Well, welcome to the sexual stereotypes of 1982, Sam.
Ooh, buddy, it is rough. You're not making this movie today.
No. We learned that Chris and Rick were a thing in the past. I don't know. It seems a little shady, though. The hammock scene, the unveiling of the hammock. Is there a goddamn point to this scene?
No.
No.
Filler. I like the
Exactly.
idea of a hammock because it gives you another potential interesting way for a kill. But that's about it.
But they don't use it for that though. So
Well,
yes,
that's
I
what I said,
agree.
potential.
Yeah, it's a great opportunity for an interesting kill. Instead, they just rehash one from the first movie.
There is a lot of missed potential in this movie, Ben.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. I'm glad you brought that up because I agree there is, and I want to hear some of your takes on that as we go through here.
Well, I just gave you one.
I know. I said some, not one.
Aw.
Yeah. Stay on your toes.
All right.
Rick loading hay into the loft of the barn. No animals, just a lot of hay. The sight gag of Rick talking and not looking at what he's doing and then realizing he's pulling Chris up on the pulley into the loft. So dangerous.
Yeah, but she seems to think that it's fun and cute.
And he actually drops her. He straight up lets go and she falls to the ground, not hurt at all, and doesn't give a care.
I know she's not hurt, because obviously, but there is potential there. It'd be like, this movie is very different if she, like, breaks her leg and they all leave because she's got to go to the hospital.
That's the end of the movie.
Yep.
It ends with a 3D shot of the ambulance flying towards the crowd.
Yeah, man, we thought this movie was short, but we had no idea.
A scream causes them both to run into the cabin, and it's just one of Shelley's gags, where he's playing dead in a wardrobe. I thought the prop looked really cool, but I have a question for you.
Okay.
Who screamed?
It's Shelley.
It wasn't Shelley. It could not have been Shelley, unless he can just change his voice like that.
Yeah, it was Shelley. Yeah.
I did love that Rick had he took the time to put his shirt back on and button it up before running into the house.
Yep.
Everybody
That's what you do when you're working in the barn. There is a fascination with this barn. Even later, some of the other cast members are like, let's go check out the barn. They're like, why? Like,
yeah, I found that really strange too.
He's really interested in this barn. I was like, you've never seen one before? Like, all right. Okay.
But it's just a generic barn. Like, the cabin has so much character. I really thought they'd put a lot more focus on like events in the cabin itself, not in a generic rundown barn.
Yeah, not nearly used enough. Again, another wasted potential. You have this cabin, and they're out in the wall. I feel like we're in the barn more than the actual cabin.
I think we are too. I really do.
I mean, you want to talk about missed potential right there, right?
Shelley and Vera go into town for groceries while Chris and Debbie talk about Chris's mental state. She's been seeing things, I guess, hearing things. It doesn't really go into it any more than that.
No, it would be great if this is where we find out the first hint that she's the copycat killer, and part of her insanity is that she's blacking out when she's doing these killings.
Oh, that would be brilliant. No, I like that a lot.
And then something like the needle kill makes more sense, because you're like, oh, in the end, you're like, that wasn't a very Jason kill, because it wasn't Jason. It was her having a psychotic lapse and doing the killings as almost a copycat killer type thing. But, you know, that's neither here nor there. I mean, it has to be whatever.
Can you imagine there's a franchise where everyone talks about this main killer and he's only in one of the movies?
Well, I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be in one of them, but I wouldn't have had a problem if, you know, 2 of the first 3 were not him, right? Because it really then keeps setting up the anticipation for when it is him more prominently. But
yeah, that'd be fine. I could go along with that. You wanted to talk about the grocery store, or at the grocery store scene here. Do you want to explain this one?
Well, I mean, they go to the grocery store to get supplies, and they run into the bikers for the first time, which is just a very awkward scene. Like, I know no names, but when the female grabs the wallet, she's like, "May I have it, ma'am?" It's like, it doesn't really seem like the kind of person who's going to be wanting this kind of formality. It's just a really weird scene.
It really was.
But like, Shelley just openly looking at a dirty magazine. And then, of course, you know, for 3D effect, tossing his wallet to her is just great, right? And then the bikers like make fun of the condom in it, and like, I guess it's the 80s. Everybody carried one around, but Doesn't seem like Shelley would need it.
No, of course. But it sounds to me like you're warming up on Shelley.
No, I just like where he grows a bit of a backbone in the outdoor scene here that follows. But that's it. I said I would just give him one more. I'm not warming up to him.
Yeah. Well, the bikers are Fox, Loco, and my favorite of the three, Ali. He seems to be the only person on screen that has any presence.
Yeah, he seems like he knows what he's doing.
I kind of wish he was one of the leads.
Well, fine.
I really do.
You chop that up as a lost potential then.
Yes,
poor
that is another lost potential.
You put a character in the wrong spot. There you go.
I found it weird they actually gave the wallet back.
I got no comment.
And then we get, like, the end of this scene makes no goddamn sense to me. Because Shelley accidentally backs into their bikes. Ali smashes the car windows with a chain. And then Shelley actually tries to run him over. He dives out of the way. And Shelley drives over the bikes. How do they not expect some sort of retaliation?
Is it by accident? I thought he reversed into the bikes as a payback.
No, it was an accident.
Oh, well, see, there you go. I've lost even one more piece of respect that I barely had for him.
Yeah, but then that's why I find it weird, because like he's freaking out after he backs into the motorcycles, and then grows a backbone and tries to actually run over one of the bikers, and then just drives over the motorcycles and speeds off.
Yeah.
Back at the camp, we get some 3D yo-yo action.
Of course. This is very necessary to the movie, and not just a scene shoved in there to give us more 3D.
Yeah, and I think they linger on this one more than anything.
Linger is a good word for when they go into 3D effects, dude.
Yeah. And Andy actually, like, he hits Debbie in the face with it, and like it looks like she's giving a legit reaction.
See, this scene I found really weird, and I wanted you to clarify, because after he hits her, she makes some comment that almost sounds like she's saying, "Careful or you'll hit someone."
She does.
And I'm just like, but did I miss it? Did they try to make it play off like she didn't get hit? But it really like looks like what?
I think this was done in one go, and he wasn't supposed to hit her in the face, but he did, and she didn't improvise and just stuck to the script. So it doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't.
Do you find it weird that Jason is spying on these, quote, kids?
Yeah, he does a lot of reconnaissance in this movie that is also not very Jason-like.
No, and like I don't know. I guess you can get away with saying that they haven't really developed the character yet. Like, he's not this unstoppable killing machine that we get to know Jason to be later on in the series. But I don't really take him as much of a voyeur as they portray him here. No,
even in the scene with Harold at the beginning, it feels like he's really playing with his food, so to speak, in that scene. And I get it. It's to build up anticipation for the crowd. But it's like, Jason doesn't seem that reserved. I don't want to say like reconnaissance or voyeur or anything, but like, it feels like he acts more impulsively than that.
Yeah, but then you think about it, and like later on in the movies, and in this one, which I have a massive problem with, is the placement of the bodies. Because he's pretty methodical in the way he does it. So he is a thinking man, but he seems much more human in this, which I guess makes sense. Because it's in, 4 where we start getting like a zombie Jason? Because he does get the axe in the head in this one. And this was supposed to be the last one. Like, he was supposed to be dead from that, the axe to the head.
Little did they know.
Yeah. Yeah, there was still 9 more to come.
Not to mention, like, this is supposed to be the last one. And then they have ones that Jason Goes to Hell was clearly supposed to be a final one too, right? Like,
well, the next movie's called The Final Chapter.
Yeah. How long is this chapter?
Yeah. Of course the bikers show up. They had to, right? We just knew they had.
Yep.
Yeah. And my initial reaction was, they're just going to steal their gas?
Oh, I'm 100% with you. And they're like, is this necessary? We need payback. And I'm like, what? They're just going to siphon the gas and leave them stranded? It's like, it escalates way past that.
And there's something I didn't get. Like, I watched, I broke up my Blu-ray of, what's it called? Crystal Lake Memories. And it's a 400-minute documentary covering the entire franchise up until like a few years ago. And the segments on each film are pretty good. Did you understand that the whole point of siphoning the gas into the jerry cans was so they could then burn down the barn?
Not until they say it.
Yeah, I don't know. But there is something about this biker gang that is pivotal to later scenes in the movie. So while they seem out of place and unnecessary, the callbacks we get to them make them probably the most necessary part of the plot of this movie. I found that really interesting. Like, it's the only good writing that we come across.
Fair enough.
So Fox explores the barn for a few minutes, which just irritates the shit out of me until she's murdered by Jason.
And she falls down and sees the pitchfork right in front of her. It's I think 3D and foreshadowing, and I'm okay with it. It does go on a little long, though.
It's too long. Way too long. And, like, we're not supposed to like this character, so we don't care about her. So stop giving her that much screen time. It just doesn't make sense. The movie's already short. Like, no more padding, please. Just let it be short. Let it be a short film.
No, they got to make you care about the characters before they're killed off. Otherwise, what would be the fun of it?
Yeah, well, did you care about her when she died?
No, not even a little bit.
Who would?
But I said they got to try.
I guess. Well, what are your thoughts on her death?
I think it's pretty cool. The image when other biker, whatever his name is, finds her,
Loco.
and she's like, what was it?
Loco is Loco. The white guy.
Okay, yeah, when he finds her and, foreshadowing with the pitchfork, it is pretty cool.
I like the fact that she was lifted off the ground. I thought that did look pretty cool. But yeah, Loco finds her and he's the next to die. And I would say a boring kill, because that's 2 pitchfork deaths in a row. Now, when Ali goes in and Loco's body falls on him, I thought that looked pretty great. It caught me off guard. It was a decent bit of writing. But then we just don't see Ali for a while.
No. Really makes you wonder what they had in mind here. Like,
yeah.
Were they anticipating that the audience would just forget about him or assume that he is gone? Like, for good.
I assumed he was, like, Jason killed him and we just didn't see it. Because he just vanishes.
Yeah, you almost think, like, maybe this will be one of the scenes where, running away in a panic, they stumble upon his body, and that's another one, like, there isn't any help. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it is a little weird. It is absolutely a little weird.
Rick and Chris have a heart-to-heart in the woods. It's a weird one, but we'll get into that a bit later. Back at the cabin, Andy and Shelley juggle in 3D.
Of course, because all of the 3D scenes so far have been very necessary to the movie. Yo-yos and broom handles and juggling.
Rattlesnakes. Eyeballs.
That's not a rattlesnake. I refuse to call it that. I'm not calling it that. No. Maybe you were rattled. I wasn't rattled.
Coat hanger snake.
Yeah.
Nobody gives a shit about this juggling.
No.
Vera turns down Shelley, but I have to say I'm actually surprised that he tried, kind of.
He's built some confidence with his newfound rebelness with the bikers.
Well, I mean, he did just attempt murder, so yeah.
Right, see? Now, what's a female to be afraid of when you've attempted murder?
Vehicular manslaughter, yeah, right?
Yeah, see? It's all good.
Yeah, back to Chris and Rick. Chris tells the story of how one night she got into a fight with her parents. Her mother slapped her, so she ran off into the woods. She fell asleep next to a tree and woke up to footsteps nearby. Of course, it was Jason. He attacked her with a knife, and she blacked out. When she woke up, she was in her own bed, and her parents acted as if nothing happened, and no one talked about it ever again.
See, now doesn't that lend itself to why she's not dead? And yes. Her being the copycat killer now?
It does. In the original story, Jason actually sexually assaulted her, but they thought it was too dark, so they just left that out.
Oh.
Now, I think that makes a lot more sense when at the end of the movie she has that mental break. Like, her reaction when he shows, like, when Jason takes off the mask for a brief second and shows Chris his face and then puts the mask back on, it's much more impactful if we knew that part of the story.
Yes, it is.
But it's also way too serious for this kind of movie.
It also doesn't feel like a Jason thing to do to sexually assault her.
I agree
Obviously,
completely.
I don't want to make light of what is being discussed in this segment here, but
Of course.
in and of itself, part of the movie, like, they've never shown Jason to have like a sex drive. It's
No. And they
Just
should
about-
just be ridiculous.
and they should also have never had him remove his mask in that scene. Because it hasn't happened yet, but you referenced it, so I'm going to say it now.
Yeah.
That looked terrible.
I get that. I do like quite a bit. I like the makeup they used for him in this movie. But I feel like it takes away from the reveal in the next one. Granted, they didn't know there was going to be another movie. But
Right, because this is the last one.
Exactly. But I don't have a problem with his makeup, especially further along when we see him in the barn with like the bloody face. That actually gave me chills. If you stop and just look at it, and then you look at his like frantic actions of trying to like pry the window open, like he's a caged animal. I thought that was very effective. So Stoner Chuck wakes up to go take a shit and smoke a joint.
As you would.
Yeah, it's weird though. That's 2 scenes now in this movie where people are actively doing things while in the toilet.
The one part of this scene that gets me is that when like the outhouse shakes, right, and the audience is like, "Oh, it's Jason," right?
Yeah.
Coming after his victim, but he looks at his joint and he's like, "Far out, man."
Yeah, this is some strong shit.
Yeah, like he is. Okay, dude.
Did you get a laugh from that? Because I laughed.
Yeah, that's why I'm bringing it up.
Yeah, it was good. It was a good scene.
Yeah.
I thought it was actually a great jump scare too when Chili appears, because she's right there.
What are you doing out there?
Yeah. They think it was Shelly playing a prank, so they go to the barn to find him.
Why? Why would he be in the barn? Why?
I don't know. Why not just go back inside?
Yeah.
But of course, Jason's spying on them too, because that's what he does in this movie. And we immediately cut to a jump scare with Vera on the wharf. It's Shelly. I knew it the first time I saw it. I'm pretty sure everybody did. Because we know it's not Jason. We just saw him in the barn. And then somehow he just ran into the lake and covertly swam underwater to the wharf.
Okay, don't act like that would be the first time it's happened in these movies where somehow they have magical teleportation powers.
I think it might be the first one for Jason, though. I do.
Okay, see, I don't know the context of chronologically, but like we know this is a thing. We talk about it all the time, right?
Yes. And I love how they included that in the game, where you can actually teleport.
That said, I did know that was Shelly. I just want to clarify that part.
Good. It couldn't be anybody else. There's no way. But we do get the first appearance of the now iconic hockey mask. The back and forth of, I just wanted you to like me. And Vera says, I do like you. My note just says, do you, Vera? Do you really?
I also find it interesting. It's like, I just wanted you to like me by scaring you shitless. You're doing it wrong, dude.
So Shelly goes to investigate the barn. I've had enough of the barn.
Right?
I don't care about this barn at all. Back on the wharf, Vera's looking through Shelly's wallet, and I thought you'd get a laugh out of this. She accidentally drops it in the water. She's so hesitant to go into the water and get it, but it's only a few feet from shore, and it looks like the water might be a foot deep at most. This is supposed to be Crystal Lake. It's like Crystal Pond.
I mean, later in the series, they do an even worse job with bodies of water.
Yeah, that's true. Problem with this. Jason arrives with the mask and spear gun, and Vera mistakes him for Shelly. There is no goddamn way that you would mistake these two for the same person. None whatsoever.
This is such a unique take on Jason. This marksman with a spear gun.
The dude's massive. Massive. He's not wearing a wetsuit. He's bald. Although, we do get the payoff of Vera getting a spear through the eye.
This is very poorly done 3D. That spear is so wobbly as it's because it's clearly traveling on a fishing line or something, right?
Oh yeah, it's on track wire for sure.
But it is so wobbly that I can't imagine that that's the best take they had for this. Like, it looks awful.
Well, the thing is, they had to do all the 3D in one shot, like one take, basically. You get it in this shot or nothing. So they did the best they could. I'll give them that. It's probably the most famous or highly regarded 3D bit in the movie, I think.
I don't doubt that. I don't doubt that for a second.
Also, Vera falling in the water had to be done. It was like one time only thing. That's the only time they could do it because the prosthetic they put on was a foam. And as soon as she fell into the water, it would just get waterlogged and slide off her face, and they couldn't make more. So as much as this movie is chock full of problems, we have to keep in mind that they only had one shot at getting a lot of these. So I think it's pretty competent in that regard.
They're making do with what they got, but you would figure like after the success of the first two, they'd have a little bit more of a budget to work with.
Yeah, but that was the thing about these movies, right? They didn't cost a lot, so that's why they got made, because they would always profit. And this one did. We'll get into that later, but compared to the budget, it did quite well. But yeah, you have that 3D gimmick too. So was it that people wanted to see another Friday the 13th movie, or was it nobody had seen a 3D movie before?
It is what it is.
The one thing that I really don't like about this is we immediately have to assume that Jason killed Shelley off screen. It doesn't really seem fair for the audience or the character in a movie that's a slasher film, and the whole point is the payoff of getting kills. The one character that almost everybody hates and wants to be killed is murdered off screen, or so we think at the time.
Second option for a copycat killer, the guy that nobody likes, is playing all of the murder pranks, and now, like, he shows up, later with the slit throat, things like that. He could have done his own makeup job and then later revealed as he was the killer, and, he was pushed around and bullied and had enough.
Also, do you find it strange that earlier in the movie, in the van, when Vera asks Shelley about the box he has, that's the only thing he has with him, and it says it has his whole life in it?
Yeah. I don't know if we got full explanation on that. I think we're just supposed to assume it's all of his, like, makeup and prank stuff.
And wetsuits and spear guns and...
Maybe that was at the camp. I'm not sure on that. But even if that is the stuff that you needed for your pranks and stuff, you're telling me you also wouldn't need, like, a change of underwear for your trip? Like,
clothes at all?
Anything? Like, what do you...
Anything! Anything!
Yeah, just...
So, moving on. Andy and Debbie have sex in a hammock. Not sure how comfortable that would be, but good on them.
It's got to be there. That's obligatory 80s horror movie.
Yeah. And then, as such, we get the only nudity in the film, as Debbie has a shower. But what do you think about Andy's handstand death?
Even before he dies, the handstands were just annoying.
Mm-hmm.
Is not the first time. Like, when they were walking outside of the barn when Jason was watching them and he was saying, let's go check out the barn, he's just walking on his hands. And then does she want a drink? He brings it on his hand. Like, cool, dude. Was the casting for this movie dude who can do a handstand?
Probably. I mean, let's not kid ourselves. It's not a quality acting in most of these movies.
Just saying.
I did like that they, when they do that, the shot of his death, they do it from, like, underneath. They actually got him to do a handstand on a plexiglass floor for the shot, which is pretty ingenious filmmaking.
Yeah. I will say this is one of the few opportunities where they had something which admittedly was foolish to me, where it did at least contribute to a cool kill. Mm-hmm. At least.
What do you think about him being stuffed in the rafters?
Yeah, you gotta stuff him somewhere.
Well, that's a big problem I have with these movies, even the original Halloween. I don't know why they do this, but like the killers take the time to move their victims into areas or situations where they're discovered in unusual ways. But, okay, perfect example. Yeah, he's stuffed in the rafters. No one's finding him except Debbie lays in the hammock and is flipping through a Fangoria magazine. And then she gets drops of blood that fall on it from the ceiling and looks up and sees Andy's body just kind of stuffed up there in the ceiling. And then is murdered Kevin Bacon style from the first movie. Except instead of an arrow through the back of the neck, she gets a knife through, like, the base of her neck and outer chest.
I gotta say, I know we were talking about it and stuffing bodies and hiding things and shit like that, whatever. But it does open up for the blood dripping on the magazine, which I thought was one of the cooler shots in the movie.
Really?
I like that kind of stuff. You know, if you got to find the body somehow.
I guess.
I'm just surprised they didn't do it from the perspective of the book and watch the blood flow towards the screen in 3D.
Not a bad idea. Definitely not a bad idea.
No, instead we got to do a broom and a snake on a wire.
Yeah, but we can't do 3D there when the next shot is Chuck making popcorn in 3D.
See what I mean about the decision making? I get it. It's 3D and you need to utilize it, but like missed potential on using it for things that would actually make sense for the movie.
Yeah. Well, the spear gun makes sense.
Okay, I'm not saying all of them universally, but there are definitely some where you can see a substitution would make more sense.
Yeah, I think there's only 3 3D moments. No, 4 moments of 3D in this movie that the 3D is used for the benefit of the film. I think that would be the rattlesnake. I think that would be one of the pitchforks, the spear gun, and the eye popping. But the power goes out and nobody finds it weird.
That's a rickety old cabin.
I guess.
It's actually in pretty good shape, actually.
It is actually in really good shape. I'm glad you brought that up. Because no one's been there for a while, but it looks like someone cleaned it maybe a week before.
Yeah.
Chuck goes to the basement to fix it, and Shelly makes it back to the cabin with his throat slashed, only to die after Chili thinks he's joking again. So I guess maybe that is a payoff for people that really hate Shelly. I thought it was an insult to the character.
Yeah, but it was almost like a boy who cried wolf kind of moment.
It really was. I'm glad you brought that up. I was thinking the same thing. It definitely is boy who cries wolf. But I don't know. I think as much as the movie doesn't need it, it just doesn't seem to fit if you don't see the slash happen. Because this, all in all, this is a pretty brutal film. So I just found that to be a weak moment. Jason kills Chuck by throwing him into the electrical panel.
It's weak.
It is weak.
I don't have much more to say about it. That's just weak.
What about Chili? She's next to die.
Nah, it's fine.
Red hot poker from the fire.
I mean, after you watch the electrical box thing, you're like, okay, well, at least this is better.
Yeah. But just, you can't really call one good because it's not as shitty as the previous one.
When they happen this close in succession, I absolutely can.
Yeah, I guess. Fair enough. They're just trying to get rid of characters now. We're getting closer to the end of the film. Need to start offing everyone.
I was about to say, like, why even just put those characters in there? But then I'm like, oh, right, it's already an incredibly short movie as it is.
Chris and Rick finally make it back to the cabin, which seemed to take forever.
That's far away.
Yeah, I guess Chris tends to the burnt popcorn while Rick searches the house, deducing that everyone has left, which I don't get how he can say that because he didn't really check anything.
No.
So he goes outside to look around, and Jason crushes his head with his bare hands. And I really want to hear your thoughts on this one.
Well, isn't this where he has him, like, not like gagged or whatever, but like has his mouth over hand over his mouth?
Yeah. That was a really good shot, actually.
That was a really good shot. So that's what I wanted to say about this. The kill itself, I wasn't super keen on. And I also don't understand why Jason would wait. But the shot of her, like, walking onto the patio and just around the corner, there's this struggle going on and Jason keeping him quiet so she doesn't hear. Great shot.
Yeah, it's probably one of the best shots in the movie. What about what are your thoughts on the kill, though?
Like I said, I don't think it was anything special. I think that this shot before it was better. If you look at them, I guess, combined, then it's okay.
Yeah. I think the 3D effect, the effect of the eye popping out of Rick's head, looked awful. I'd say along the same level as the rattlesnake on a coat hanger.
Yeah.
It's a great idea. It's just poorly done.
Makes you wonder if that's where the old man gets the eye at the beginning. Somebody else was done in the same way.
I was going to say a time loop.
Okay, that would be a very there'd be a lot more potential you'd have to explore with that, but
Chris, who's now the final girl, finds the bathtub overflowing and filled with bloody clothes, which backs up my belief that Rick did a piss poor job of checking upstairs.
He didn't check anything.
I know, he just kind of went partway up the staircase and then stopped.
Yep.
But outside, we get a jump scare of Loco's body falling from a tree. And again, it's another perfect example of a dead body scare that makes no sense, of placing bodies in weird scenarios and how they all work perfectly as the reveal, scaring another character. Like, he just falls out of the tree almost on top of her.
This one is actually maybe the funniest out of all of them, because you're like, this isn't where it was like, oh, you did a bad job hiding the body. This one feels like he almost set it up to catch them with it. Be like, aha!
Well, he killed Loco in the barn.
I know. That's what I'm saying. Like, it feels like it had to be premeditated. Like, he's like, all right, I'm going to take the body. I'm going to put it in this tree. And I'm going to, almost put like this weak branch holding it so that when they go, they trigger it. And like, it feels like it's set up as opposed to just poorly hidden.
It's Leslie Vernon, man. Behind the Mask.
Oh, that was a good movie.
It was a good movie. Yeah, because like, why would he fall out of the tree just as Chris was walking under it? It's impossible. But
Jason set it up that way. There was a like a twig connected to a rope that she stepped on under the tree.
Oh my god. Can you imagine? He's like rigging snares and shit.
Yeah, this is Jason. This is what he does.
So Chris runs back inside, and we get what I think is the best of the dead body jump scares. Rick's corpse is hurled through a window and crashes on the floor.
See, now this one I'm okay with, because he's not trying to hide the body. This is a clear warning shot.
Oh, yeah. And it looks fantastic and painful. It looked very painful for the actor.
Well, yeah, for the actor. I was going to say the character didn't feel it.
No, definitely not. But if you, like, I went back and rewatched this a couple of times, even today. And it is the actor. And he, like, when he lands, he cracks his head on the floor, something fierce. And he can't brace himself for it because the character's dead, right? So his arms are down by his side. His feet get caught in the couch. So his head and left shoulder take the brunt of his landing. And he doesn't flinch. Like, full commitment. It was great.
Professional actor right there.
Yeah. So Jason tries to follow Chris upstairs, but she dumps a bookcase on him over the railing. And Richard Brooker, who played Jason in the movie, straight up said those books hurt like shit.
She's strong.
She is strong. I think she is one of the best final girls we've seen in this entire franchise. Because she's brutal, man. Chris then hides in a closet the size of most regular rooms, which we found hilarious. And
that was supposed to be a closet?
Yeah, I think a storage closet. Because that's all that's in there is just like clothes and random shit.
Okay, can we just meet in the middle and say it's a spare bedroom that they're using for storage?
Sure.
I just need this one. I just need this.
There she finds Debbie's body and arms herself with the knife. And I really like that. For the first time, we get to see Jason take some real damage in a movie. Like a knife in the hand and the thigh. I think this is the only time that we hear Jason in pain, audibly making noises that he's hurt. And I think the movie's actually getting better as it goes on. She manages to escape through a window, which is very smart, and ambushes him outside. And this is where I'm really getting behind Chris in this movie, because she's not running. She's trying to better her situation. So instead of like jumping out the window, falling after he catches her and rips the hood off of her jacket, she lands, gets up, looks through the window to see where he's going, and then moves around the side of the house and waits next to the door that he's going to come through and just cracks him in the head. I think most characters in these movies would just try and take off into the woods.
Yeah, actually fighting back is pretty decent.
But she gets him good a lot in this movie. So he hasn't done anything to her in the time that she managed to stab him in the hand, stab him in the leg, and then smash him in the back of the head with a log. She runs to the van and tries to run him over, but he jumps out of the way and she just drives off. And another great example of good writing here, the van runs out of gas because the bikers had siphoned it earlier. I love that part. Although I did not expect her to have a reserve tank of gas that you just flip a switch.
Is that actually a thing?
It used to be. It's not so much anymore. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not up with my vehicle makeup or anything like that, so this confused me a little bit.
Yeah. You don't know 40-year-old automotive technology?
I don't know current auto technology. No, I have no idea.
Well, it doesn't matter anyway, because the van's breaking through the wooden bridge, so she has to get out, and we get a foot chase to the barn.
This is the part I find interesting, is like, if you're going to do the footbridge part, right? Like, it's breaking through the footbridge, why do the gas part?
Yep.
She's not going to get away anyway. I was like, okay.
Jason can't find her in the barn, and just kind of loses his shit and throws a tantrum trashing the place. Is this the only time? Is this the only time we see him freak out in the series? Because he's legit pissed.
I mean, you'd know better than I would. I can't recall the whole series.
Well, Chris gets the drop on him, cracks him on the head with a shovel, ties a rope around his neck, and hangs him. Definitely the most badass final girl.
He clearly gets better at this as time goes on.
Yeah, this is just a blueprint of mistakes. She goes outside to check on him, only to find him alive, and then he reveals himself to be her attacker from the past. Which, like I said, when you go back to the original story, this is really dark. But we get Ollie to the rescue, kind of.
I was going to say, that rescue is a very generous word. He tries to give her a hand.
Oh, he does, yeah. But that even, like, I don't even remember him coming back. Like, that surprised me this time around. Because I thought he just died off screen, too.
It also makes you wonder, like, he's been hiding for a while.
Yeah, where the hell was he?
I'm terrible with, like, the passage of time in this. I'm assuming it's all still in the same day. But it feels like he's been hiding in that barn all day.
Well, yeah, at least several hours.
Yeah.
But yeah, at least he tries to save her before Jason hacks his arm off and then just slashes him to death on the floor.
Yep.
That might actually be one of the most brutal, probably the most brutal death in this movie.
I actually find it interesting because, like, he lays into him a couple of times. And it's just sorry, go ahead.
It's just pure rage now.
Yeah, because I was going to say, normally with Jason kills, they're pretty clean in regards to, like, they're usually like one shot kind of thing, right? There's obviously exceptions, but like this one, it's like he's pummeling him for a little bit, right? Like it's a very interesting look for one of his kills for sure.
I have a question for you.
I doubt I have an answer, but okay.
No, it's okay. I don't have an answer to this either. It's just an interesting thing to think about. We just have to assume that Jason found his way to Higgins Haven, right? After killing Harold and Edna. Do you think he was actually going there? Or he just happened upon the place again and saw Chris and remembered her from the past? And that's why he let her live to the end? Because he could have killed her numerous times.
I don't know. Like, it's hard to imagine that, like, he has, like, a central point of operation that he returns to. But, like, what else could it be? Like...
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's a weird one.
Huh.
But yeah, anyway, Chris uses the distraction of Ollie's death to arm herself with an axe and smashes it into Jason's head. Gotta say, it looked pretty good.
Yeah, it's not bad.
But now I have to correct myself from earlier.
Okay.
This end is much worse than part 2.
Mm-hmm.
Chris wakes up the next morning in a canoe and sees Jason in the barn, alive and bloodied. But like I said before, he looks awesome. I think this was legitimately creepy. Like I said, he does look like a caged animal, the way he's trying to like scratch his way through the window and can't figure out how to open it. And the way he's staring at her, like axe wound in the head, blood all over his face, but he's like making eye contact from that distance. She tries to paddle away, looks back and doesn't see him, but is dragged into the water by a zombified Mrs. Voorhees. Throwback to the end of part 1. Cut to a bit later, police are on the scene. They escort a now mentally broken Chris into a squad car and drive off as the camera pans over to the barn, showing Jason's corpse still laying on the ground. Roll credits, end of movie. Now, for a short movie that we agree is overly padded with things that make no sense or just don't really seem to have a place, that ending seems way too rushed.
Yeah.
Can you think of a way that would have been better, though? Because while I think it is flawed and extremely rushed. It does everything it needs to do.
I think that the best way to do it would be that, like, if you go with her being the copycat killer, which is what I would do, she sees Jason trying to claw at that window, and that's when the police arrive and don't see Jason's body, don't see Jason at the window or anything. And then the camera cuts again to her, and she's still seeing it. Tell the audience, like, yeah, she's not right.
All right, let's get in some numbers here.
No response.
No.
Okay.
Yes, your ending would be better, but while I feel it's rushed, I really do like the lingering shot on his corpse just there. How much money do you think this movie cost to make?
$2 million.
Very close, 2.2.
Okay.
How much do you think it made?
See, now I'm hesitant to answer because I didn't have it in my mind that this was like one of the first 3D movies, which I feel like that alone would have gotten people interested even if they weren't interested in the franchise before. But it is also still 1982 money.
Yes, and keep in mind with these movies, the reason why they kept making them is because of how much money they made.
Yeah, like
Not
I was
because they
definitely
wanted the franchise to continue.
No, I was definitely gonna say that this movie made a profit. But I just feel like now, knowing that it was like the first kind of time that you had the 3D novelty, I feel like maybe I should up it a little bit more. I was originally gonna say 40 million. I'm gonna go with 50.
40 was too high.
Okay.
It was 36.7, so it was very close, but it made a shit ton of money.
I shouldn't have let myself get swayed by that first 3D thing.
Yeah. IMDb, out of 10, what do you think people have been giving it?
This feels like a solid 7.
5.6.
Oh, come on, people.
And that's better than Rotten Tomatoes.
Oh, okay. Then that one's a 6.
For the tomato meter?
Yeah.
11.
Are you
6 would have been 60%.
Are you serious? 11.
11%.
Out of 100. 11 out of 100.
Yeah, positive reviews from... Yeah, the amount of positive reviews from the critics were 11% of the reviews were positive.
Okay. I don't think this is the best movie ever by any means, but come on. That is egregious.
Popcorn meter?
I feel like the fans would have liked this one a little bit more. I'll say 52.
42.
Okay. Oh, right.
Yeah.
Suck at guessing anyway.
So I'm very curious about our awards.
All right. Well, so you start us off with your least favorite character.
I had to go with Andy, played by Jeffrey Rogers. He played the character just fine. It's just that the character was pointless. It was really annoying. I felt like he should have played a larger role than Chuck, but he didn't. And when he died, I didn't care at all. He was the only character that when they died, I was like, yeah, okay. And I think it's safe to assume yours is Shelley, right?
Yes, correct.
Based off of what reasoning?
Annoying.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's it?
I feel like I've already expressed myself. I don't really need to get into it.
Fair.
Shelley just sucked. Like, period.
Okay. Well, what about your favorite character?
I went with Dana Kimmell as Chris. I don't know exactly why, but when you said it earlier in the episode, she might have been the best final girl. I think that really stood out. Like, she was one of the strongest figures we've had in one of these movies. And, I mean, Jason doesn't even kill her. Her mind just snaps. Right? Like, it's a really, really good final girl.
Yeah, and you have to go on the assumption, too, that they didn't know there was going to be a fourth movie. So she actually killed Jason.
Yeah, okay, yes. You think about it that way. Again, I'm watching this well after the fact, so I know that there's so many more Jason movies. But yeah, at the time, in the context, they closed this movie out as if she did successfully kill him. That's, yeah.
Yeah, killed her attacker.
Did you have the same one, or?
I picked Shelley.
Oh, come on, man.
Larry Zerner is Shelley. The thing is, like I said at the very beginning, the first few times I watched this movie, I hated the character so much. But the more I watch it, the more I like him.
Go with that instinct.
No, he's like he grew on me, man, and like I love it. Larry Zerner now a lawyer for actors, I believe, and he was prominent in that segment for 3D and Crystal Lake Memories, and he's hilarious. And he even talks about the disdain for his character, but how people like ended up loving him. Yeah, I honestly really love Shelley.
Okay. What did you have for your favorite or most memorable line?
It's a Shelley line.
Okay.
When he's asked why he isn't at the lake with the others, he says, "Oh, they said they're going skinny dipping. No, I'm not skinny enough." How could you not love a character when they say something like that? Like immediately you feel for him.
Sure.
Where's your heart, man?
Not with that guy.
Why not?
He's annoying. Sucked.
All right, what's your memorable line?
Okay, so it is a Shelley line.
Okay.
And you can take your pick because it happens multiple times, but it was just a joke.
Yeah, that kind of is a character trait of his, isn't it?
Can somebody please take the time to explain to this guy what a joke is?
Prank.
For
him, it's not a joke so much as it is a prank.
Well, then say it was just a prank, because...
All right. What about memorable scene?
I went with the spear gun 3D moment. It wasn't my favorite. I actually feel like my favorite might have been the scene in the shop at the beginning with Harold and the bunny, and him just like cracking open peanuts and drinking juice and stuff.
Donuts.
But I cannot get the wobbly spear flying at the camera out of my head.
Yeah.
It is by definition, it is the most memorable.
Yeah, for me, like I would have agreed with you. It was either going to be the spear gun or Jason getting the axe in the head because it makes the mask that much more iconic because that stays in there for the other movies. But after watching this again, I'm going to have to go with Rick being thrown through the window because you can see him as he comes into like in the air to break through the window. Looks great. The way he lands is absolutely amazing, and the commitment of the actor to sell that scene the way he did, that one shot, I don't know how he did it, but that sticks with me now more than anything else in this movie.
Fair enough. Okay. So why don't we get into our final thoughts on Friday the 13th, Part 3, 3D?
Controversial statement here. I think this might be my favorite Jason. He is a killing machine, but he's also got weird human elements to him. We see him take a lot of damage. We see him be outsmarted repeatedly, but he doesn't stop. He is still this hulking mass of a human being. He seems to have no emotion, but if we go along with the Jason Chris storyline, has motivation. And it seems to be targeted towards her based off of a previous encounter years ago, which I think makes him scarier. It's a marvel in filmmaking when you realize the technology they were using for the first time. It's got everything you want in a Friday the 13th movie, in that it's got the rural camp lake setting. It's got pretty interesting kills. Maybe not all of them are as entertaining as they hoped. It's got some really fun characters, some zaniness like the bikers. It's got some great lines. I think it's an all-around entertaining movie and one of the strongest entries in a series that has 12 so far, and we're getting more soon. It's a definite recommend for me. I don't see how it couldn't be. I think it's much better than 1 or 2. There may be some better on, but as far as the representation of Jason, I think this might be my favorite. Sorry to Kane Hodder, who I think is the most intimidating. But I think this Richard Brooker is my favorite Jason. What's your take?
While I don't agree with you that it is the best, I definitely agree that this is an easy recommend. This is, I don't want to say this. This is like your prototypical Friday the 13th movie. It has just enough of cool stuff coupled with like really bad stuff that you can like make jokes about with your friends. It has a short run time. Even with padding, it flies by. It has at least some interesting attempts at new kills and things like that, even if they don't potential. But like, it is a good movie. 11 is a shame. Like, I definitely recommend it. I don't know if it's my favorite, but I absolutely say that This is not one to miss. It is got everything you need from a Friday the 13th movie.
It definitely does, yeah.
All right, so that was our thoughts on Friday the 13th, Part 3, 3D. If you'd like to share your thoughts with us, you can hit us up on social media. We are on Twitter at Bargain Bin, Facebook.com/BS Bargain Bin, and of course the comments section on the YouTube video. Ben.
Yeah.
What are we watching next week?
Well, lately I've been wanting to talk a bit more about Van Damme, and there's plenty of movies we could pick, but there's one I haven't seen in a while, and I remember really enjoying when I first saw it in 1990. So next week we'll be talking about Death Warrant.
First, he demolished the supreme player in the most brutal sport in the world. Then, he crushed the competition in a contest nobody plays for kicks. Now,
What's the problem?
he faces a new challenge, only this time there are no rules. And nobody's playing games.
Detective Burke, we want to send you undercover into Harrison as a prisoner.
Van Damme is Burke.
You're not gonna last too long. It's not a threat. It's a promise.
He's got the toughest job a cop can do.
Prisoners hate cops more than anything else. It's a hit list. You're a dead man.
His cover has been blown.
What are you doing in my prison? It's too late.
Your number's next on the list.
And the odds are impossible.
Welcome to hell!
Van Damme, he loves a good fight. Death Warrant.
Till next time, have a good one.
All the best.